Hey guys, how's it going? Jacob here. Today I'm going to be giving you a top 10 list video, and it is going to be my top 10 favorite Pokemon of all time. It can be from any generation, any type. It could be legendaries, mythicals, pseudo-legendaries, what have you. It's just going to be the top 10 of all time, and it's not going to be in any particular order because I don't want to try to play ultra favorites. So without any delay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so number one on the list is going to be Charizard. And I know what you're probably thinking right now. Oh my gosh, why does he have to pick Charizard? Why does everyone pick Charizard? Blastoise is right there. It can beat it. And you know what? You can just go ahead and be quiet because I just really like Charizard. I have always liked Charizard. It has been one of my favorites for as long as I've actually been into Pokemon. And I just think it has a really cool design, and I just like its typing in general. Fire flying, it's really cool because we really don't have too many flying type starters. I think it's just Charizard, Rowlet, and Dartrix, and I just really like how it looks like a dragon. Plus then I like how one of its mega evolutions actually made it Fire Dragon. They finally did something for the fans there. I just like it has a wide variety of moves it can learn, and I like its different abilities. I like how Mega Charizard Y gets Drought, so that can be really useful for Solar Beams, and then Mega Charizard X gets Tough Claws, so you could go ahead and use Flare Blitz, Dragon Claw. They give you plenty of options for how to use it, and I just always like seeing Charizard in the anime. I like how for so long it didn't listen to Ash. It was his most powerful Pokemon, but it didn't listen to him, and then eventually he was able to prove to Charizard how much he really cared for it, and he got Charizard's respect. And then just over time, they got closer, and even when they were separated, when Charizard was off training, they were just able to still have a bond. There was, in the Entei movie, Charizard came and saved Ash when he was falling. There was, in the 8th Johto gym battle, he was able to have Charizard come and save him in the Dragon Holy Land, and it was able to help him in his gym battle. And then in the Pokemon League, it was really cool watching Ash's Charizard battle Gary's Blastoise and beat him, because I thought that was really cool to be like, type matchup doesn't mean everything. And then just to see him come back all the way in Unova, where Ash was at a Kanto festival and he started thinking about Charizard, and he's like, you know what, I actually really miss Charizard, I want to see it. So then Charizard continued to travel with him from that point on. It's just really cool to see how after all the years that Ash and Charizard were still almost just as close as Ash and Pikachu. And that's always just meant a lot to me, so Charizard's just always been one of my favorite Pokemon. But overall, it just has a really, really dope design, so that's where it ranks in my favorites. Number 2, Lapras. I just really like Lapras because of the way that they've treated it in the games. How all the way back in Red, Blue, and Yellow, the only way you could get Lapras was as a gift. There was only one that you could get, and back then, you know, you couldn't breed, so you couldn't get more. You just had the one, but it was really useful. I know when I played through Pokemon Red, I made sure I used the Lapras because it has really good HP for one, so it can definitely take a lot of hits. And then, even though abilities weren't really a thing back then, Water Absorb nowadays is really good. That's helped me out a lot in some battles. And I also like just the tiny little detail that they put in X and Y, where if you're surfing on a Lapras, you actually see its overworld sprite. I thought that was just really cool. And then how they went even further into that in Gen 7, where Lapras is one of the ride Pokemon. I just thought that was really cool because it's literally the transport Pokemon. So I think it seems fitting that in their way of getting rid of HMs, they make Lapras the Pokemon that you can surf on. Well, Lapras and Sharpedo. But I just really like Lapras. I've always thought it'd be cool to have one just to go out into a lake or the ocean and just relax. I thought that'd be really cool. And it just seems like a really nice Pokemon to have. I think that you could have a lot of fun with it and really enjoy it. Number 3, Electivire. I just think that Electivire is probably my favorite Pokemon out of all Generation 4. I think it's really cool how in Generation 4 they took some of the original Pokemon from Generations like 1 and 2 and they gave them new evolutions or new pre-evolutions. And Electivire was just so cool because I already liked Electabuzz, but Electivire just looks so much cooler. And I really like its ability Motor Drive. Even the name just sounds really cool, but it's really cool then how if you get hit by an electric type move, you just take no damage and it ups your speed. And I just really like seeing Electivire in the anime, and you could tell that they actually really liked using it because so many people had it. Paul had an Electivire as his main Pokemon. Gary had an Electivire. I think Electivire is actually one of the first Pokemon we saw from Gen 4 because of when Ash battled Gary. And then Volkner had an Electivire as one of his Pokemon. So it's just really cool to see how many people actually have it, and you can tell that they just really like it. And I just like the idea how it kind of looks like a gorilla, and I kind of like the idea how they further the sort of parallels they have with Electabuzz and Magmar. How first of all they had Magby and Elekid, but then they decided to go even further beyond with Electivire and Magmortar. And I do like Magmortar, but Electivire has just always been cooler to me, so it's definitely one of my favorites. Number 4, Heracross. I've just always liked Heracross, just seeing it everywhere, but I feel like it's always been underrepresented. I feel like in the game, so many people like to sleep on Heracross thinking that it's just an easy thing to knock out, but I've actually seen people have to struggle against Heracross. There are times where I've seen people lose a Pokemon in a Nuzlocke to it, or at least come really close to it, and I don't want to see people lose, but I also like to be able to see Heracross put in work and show its value. And I was actually so excited when I saw Heracross was going to get a Mega Evolution, because I'm like, you know, it's just really good that they give attention to Heracross, and I understand that its Mega isn't that great, you know, actually competitive wise, but I still think it looks pretty cool. And I like how it has Skill Link, so you could do like Skill Link Pin Missile and get off some decent damage. And I also like the idea that Mega Horn was actually Heracross's signature move, to show that all the way back in Gen 2 they still did care about it a bit. And I like how they sometimes kind of have the parallels between Heracross and Pinsir, like how in Gen 6 they were both version exclusive as well as their Mega Stones. So I thought that was pretty cool how they put in that kind of detail. And I just love Heracross's design so much. I'm not usually a huge fan of bug types, but Heracross is definitely the exception because I just think it looks super dope. I love how it has that nice big horn on it, and I like how the female version, the horn actually comes into the shape of a heart. I thought that's actually pretty cool how they put in that little detail. And I like the idea that for so long it had a unique typing. It was bug fighting, and up until Generation 7 with Buzzwole and Pheromosa, it was the only Pokemon with that typing. So I thought that was actually pretty cool how for so long that maintained itself. And I just like seeing Heracross in the anime too. I know that a lot of these are based on what I've seen in the anime, but I don't see a problem with that. I thought that was pretty cool how Heracross, of all things, was the first thing Ash caught in Johto. And I remember this one battle where it went up against a Scizor and it won, and I thought that was so cool because it was just a decent episode all around. And I liked how it involved a lot of strategy, but it also involved a lot of instinct and intuition. And it was really cool seeing Heracross prevail, and I was kind of bummed how Heracross wasn't there for too long. But it has had its moments where it's come back. At one point during the Battle Frontier, it got used in a battle and it put up a pretty good fight against a Venusaur, which, you know, makes sense because bug against grass. And then I remember in the Sinnoh week, it was the first Pokemon that was used, and it was used against Darkrai, which makes perfect sense because both of its typings are effective against Darkrai. And I actually like some of the strategies that were used. You know, Ash taught it Sleep Talk in anticipation of it going to sleep so that he could still attack. And even though Heracross didn't win, I thought that was still really cool how you saw the strategies like that. And it did get off a pretty good Mega Horn at least, so that was pretty cool to watch. Number 5, Gallade. I know that this one seems kind of obscure, you don't really see Gallade too often, but it kind of goes along with the idea of why I like Electivire, because I like how, in addition to putting in new evolutions for old Pokemon, they decided to put in branched evolutions, like Kirlia could evolve into Gallade, Snorunt could evolve into Frostlass. I thought that was just pretty cool how they did that, where then instead of just having Gardevoir, you could have Gallade, so that gave you a different option. And I always just thought that Gallade looks really cool, how it's supposed to be the male version, considering that Gardevoir looks like the female version. So I thought that was nice how you could have an alternative if you just happen to be someone who doesn't really like Gardevoir. I do like Gardevoir, but I also like the idea that Glade is an alternative. And I remember for some reason, I don't know why, this was like after I first got into Pokemon back in Gen 4, I for some reason thought that Glade was the counterpart to Darkrai. I quickly realized I was wrong, but I think that's part of the reason that I noticed it and thought that it was cool. And I just continued to see that, and I just really liked Glade. I thought it was pretty cool. It definitely became one of my favorite fighting types. And I actually thought it was pretty cool how it got a Mega, how when it Mega evolves it looks like a knight. I thought that was pretty cool how Gardevoir, it looks like it has this bigger dress. So you could picture that sort of being like nobility, and then you could picture Glade being like the knight, which is also nobility. So I thought that was really cool how they decided to maintain that theme. And how once they realized that Gardevoir had a Mega, they were like, okay, we should probably give Glade a Mega. And that was pretty cool. Then in Oris, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, how instead of Wally having Gardevoir, they decided to give him Glade because they're like, okay, we have that option now. We have the alternative. So I've just always really liked Glade. It's not definitely going to be one of the first things I'll choose, but it's definitely worthy of being in my top 10 because I've just always thought it's really cool. Number 6, Snorlax. I've just always loved that big boy. I just think that he looks so cool. It has such a basic design, but I've just always loved it. I just like the idea of how it's always blocking the road, so it's always going to be that static encounter. And then all the way in Generation 6, how they brought that feature back, where there was a Snorlax blocking the path, so you had to go get the Poke Flute. I thought that was really cool how they brought it back. And I just really like seeing Snorlax in general in any sort of format. I actually have a Snorlax plush. It's really nice. I enjoy having it because Snorlax is one of my favorites. And I just remember this one fight that I saw where for some reason the Snorlax knew 6 moves. It actually managed to go above and beyond and were 6 moves, and it was able to defeat a fighting type Pokemon. I'm pretty sure it was a Hariyama, but that's not the point. It was the idea that it had 6 moves, and it was just busted. They just threw mechanics out the window. Just anime logic, I guess. But I like how it does have a wide variety of moves, and I like how it has its own signature Z move, Pulverizing Pancake. It is hilarious to just watch as it's down there sleeping and stuff, and its eyes just pop open. It looks like it's ready to murder you. It just charges at you full force, and it flattens you. You are not coming out of that easily. So I just always like Snorlax. I think Munchlax is a funny little guy too. I kind of like how he looks like Chowder, if you know what I mean there. And I just really like then how they gave Snorlax that extra attention and giving it a pre-evolved form. But, you know, I definitely just always have a soft spot for Snorlax because I can relate to it. I like to be able to eat plenty of food and then just go to sleep. That just sounds like a pretty relaxing time to me. So I feel like in a way Snorlax is almost like my spirit Pokemon, if you know what I mean there. Number 7, Sceptile. I just have always liked Sceptile. I know that some people like to say, oh, if you like Trico, Grovyle, or Sceptile, you're weird. I think you're weird. We can disagree on stuff, but I do think you're weird. Sceptile has always just been so cool to me. I just really like it. And I think that it is my favorite grass-type starter, which, you know, makes sense because it's on the list and other grass-type starters aren't on the list. But I just really like it, and I know that most of the time I like to choose Trico. I know that when I played through Alpha Sapphire, I actually chose Mudkip though, because I had just recently had Blaziken and Pokemon X, and I'm like, I always choose Sceptile, so I'll try to give Swampert a chance here, which I did enjoy, but at the same time, I've just always been a lover of Sceptile. I just think it looks so cool. I've just always liked seeing it in the anime. I think that it's not quite on the level of Ash and Pikachu or Ash and Charizard, but I think that you definitely could see a bond there. Because I remember when Ash's Grovyle first evolved into Sceptile, and it was because it wanted to save a Meganium that it had feelings for, but it turns out that it was so shocked by the fact that the Meganium didn't want to be with it that it was unable to use moves. And then in the following episode, you saw that continue. You saw it try to use attacks, but it was unable to, and it got really frustrated and ran off. So Ash chased after it, and then they started getting chased by a swarm of Beedrill, and Ash ended up losing Sceptile's Pokeball, so he couldn't call it back. So then the episode just turned into Ash and Sceptile just sitting there talking, and I just really like the idea that you got to see them bond like that. How it didn't just seem like it was Ash, the trainer, and his Pokemon. It was actually the two of them talking as really close friends, and it was good to see Sceptile overcome that trouble and be able to use moves again. And then later, the next day, they were in a Battle Frontier battle, and Sceptile ended up coming in clutch because at the last minute it learned Solar Beam and it was able to beat Quaidol. So I thought that was really cool, seeing it go from 0 to 100 like that, not knowing any moves to learning Solar Beam, and being able to just wipe the floor with a Quaidol and get the win. I actually really like that. And then I like the idea of going back to the Sinnoh Pokemon League. Sceptile was the only person in the entire league to be able to beat Tobias' Darkrai. No one else had done it. Ash was the only person who could beat it, given Ash was down to like his 4th or 5th Pokemon, but it was still really cool that Sceptile was able to defeat a mythical Pokemon. And even though it lost again to a Latias, it definitely put in work, and I like the idea that they gave it that extra attention. So Sceptile has always had a soft spot for me. I really like the idea that they give it a Mega Evolution too. I like how it's Grass Dragon, so it fits the idea of it being a lizard, reptilian. And I know that some people are like, oh, well, if we're going to give it a Mega Evolution, might as well just make it Dragon, because there are only so many Pokemon that they decide to make Dragon type through Mega Evolution, and I think Sceptile was definitely one of them that should be. Plus, having Lightning Rod was actually pretty cool, because that just gives you a random immunity. So I've just always liked Sceptile. I will continue to like Sceptile. Try and stop me. Number 8, Torkoal. I know that this one seems really obscure and doesn't really seem to make much sense. I know that some people don't like Torkoal, but I've always actually just really liked Torkoal. I just like its design. I think it looks pretty cool for a tortoise-like Pokemon. And I like how out of all the Pokemon, it basically has one of the best defenses in the game. Definitely has one of the best defenses of all fire types. Even compared to some Pokemon that are legendary or mega evolved, I just like the idea that it has such good defenses. And I always just like to be able to see a Torkoal use Overheat. That just feels so cool to watch. Like, I feel like Torkoal can put in some decent hits, and Overheat's definitely one of the best things that could be put on it. And I just like seeing Torkoal for comedic relief. There were times where it just seemed like it was pretty funny. I remember one time it just like got up on its hind ways and it just smacked a soccer ball down. It was pretty hilarious. And I've just always been able to like Torkoal, just either for comedic relief or just for out of respect for its defenses. Torkoal is just pretty cool. I'd always like to see that little buddy by my side. Number 9, Scizor. I just really like Scizor. Like I said earlier, I'm not a huge fan of bug types, but Scizor definitely is worthy of being in the mix. I like how whenever in Generation 2 they introduced steel types and they gave some new Pokemon evolutions, how Scyther got to become Scizor, and I just really like its design in general. I just think it looks really cool. I like playing it in Pokken. I'm not the best at it, but I've definitely gotten better. I really like its Mega. I think it looks super dope too. And backtracking to what I was talking about Heracross, I like the whole Heracross versus Scizor fight. I thought that was pretty cool, watching these two bug types fight, how they both are actually pretty strong. And I always kind of get intrigued by the idea that Scyther and Scizor have the same base stat total, so it's basically just a matter of which typing you prefer, bug flying or bug steel. But then Scizor has its Mega Evolution, so that kind of gives it the edge. And I also really like Shiny Scizor. It just looks super cool how it's just different from the regular one. It's like this bright yellowish green. And I actually have a Shiny Scizor, because here's a little story for you. I remember I actually got the Shiny Charm in Pokemon Sun, and later that night, the first Pokemon I got as a Shiny was Scyther, because I was SOS chaining for it, and it actually is super rare that it calls for help, and I was dead tired. My face was just down on my bed, And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break for a second to go to the bathroom. Once I get one more call, it called in on like the fourth one, and it was a shiny, and I lost my mind. I thought that was so cool that I got it so quickly. Well, quickly number wise, time wise, it actually took a long time, but it was so cool. It took me a while though to evolve it because I needed someone to help me. But I finally got a friend to help me evolve it, and it's so cool seeing a shiny Scizor. It's so cool seeing a shiny Mega Scizor. Its stats aren't that great, but I mean, whenever you're shiny hunting, you don't focus too much on the stats. You focus on the fact that it's a shiny. And I've just always been able to like Scizor. I think it's so cool. And, you know, it's got those nice claws. You know, it's got the clamps. And, yeah, I like Scizor. Finally, number 10, Komo-o. I just think that Komo-o looks so cool. Out of all the pseudo-legendaries, I think that all of them actually look really cool, but Komo-o just has a special place for me. At first, I was actually kind of neutral on it, but I saw this video entitled Why Komo-o is Great, and it's a bunch of PokeTubers where they got together and they talked about why Komo-o is cool. It was, I believe, The King Nappy, Shady Penguin, Shofu, Numnexus, and if I'm forgetting anyone else, I'm sorry that I didn't, you know, properly plug them in this video. You should look up the video yourself. It was actually really funny and really cool, and it definitely made me like Komo-o more. And this was before the games even came out, and I actually got to use Komo-o when I first played through Pokemon Sun, and it was a lot of fun. And I like its unique typing, how it's dragon fighting. It's something you don't really see too often. Now, it's going to get destroyed by fairy types, I guess. But, I mean, you know, you still have options. Like, it gets Flash Cannon. You could do that. Like, you could run a special Komo-o with Flash Cannon, I suppose. And I really love its signature Z move, Clangorous Soul Blaze. It's just so cool. It is insanely powerful, and it gives you an Omni boost. It boosts all your stats. It hits everything on the field. It is broken. Like, it has to be banned. And I remember one time I used it on my friend. He didn't even know it was a thing, and he was just surprised. He didn't know how to react. And I also really like Komo-o's shiny. I know that some of this is based on shinies, but that's not a problem, because I actually caught a shiny Hakamo-o and evolved it into Komo-o, and it looks so cool. It's just got this nice golden color on it, and it just looks amazing. And I really like the idea that Komo-o got to be one of the totems. I'm really triggered by the fact that you can't get Totem Komo-o in Ultra Sun, because I love it. It's like Ultra Moon gets Komo-o, this amazing Pokemon, literally a pseudo-legendary. Ultra Sun gets Totem Ribombee, which I know that in a fight it would be able to hold its own against Komo-o, but it's like, come on, you're gonna give one game the pseudo-legendary but not the other. That's just trash right there, come on. Plus, it's also really cool seeing Totem Komo-o in the anime. People like to sleep on Sun Moon anime. I don't care how old I get, I actually still enjoy going in and watching it, and it was really cool seeing Totem Komo-o. It was enormous, it could barely fit in the room, and it just caused all kinds of mayhem. It was just cool watching Gladion fight it. It was just amazing, and I have just always grown to like Komo-o. In the end, I just really like to be able to use it. It's something that I really enjoy. I was kind of neutral on it. I thought it'd be cool because it's a pseudo, but definitely some of the people in the Pokemon community helped me grow more interested in it. So Komo-o is definitely great. You should check out why Komo-o is great. Alright, that's going to be it for my top 10 favorite Pokemon. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below to show some support. In the comment section, if you're interested in Pokemon, then I guess go ahead and comment your top 10 favorite Pokemon. If you agree with some of mine, that's cool. If you don't, then you're entitled to your opinion, because everyone's opinions are going to be subjective. If you're not interested in Pokemon, well then, I don't know why you really clicked on this. I guess I wasted your time, so sorry. But if you like some of the banter, that's cool too. Make sure to share the video so that other people can see and they could decide what their top 10 are. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications on when I upload more videos. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.